There is a reason why you were told to view this alone, chosen one. Stop all your activities, chosen one. Please do not browse, multitask, or divide your attention between this and other activities at this time. This is not appropriate for people who are in close proximity. Remove any external noise. Disregard your thoughts that are preoccupied with planning the next course of action. Because God has just interrupted your entire day to convey a message that can only be understood in its entirety. This message was not intended to be used as background noise. This was meant to be absorbed in solitude, in silence, with no distractions. Additionally, if you are unable to do so at this time, please save this page and return to it later. Because the content about to be spoken requires your full attention, not just fragmented attention. Take a deep, genuine breath. Observe how your thorax feels more constricted than it should be. Note the increased volume of your thoughts. Observe how your spirit has become overcrowded despite your physical isolation. This is not a mere coincidence. That is not a concern. That's a spiritual endeavor. And God drew you here, away from everything familiar and everyone, to tell you the truth and explain why you must remain silent for another period of time. I will begin with this. God instructed us to observe this alone because the information He is about to reveal cannot be filtered by the opinions, questions, or energy of others. Certain truths are so personal, precisely scheduled, and uniquely assigned to you that allowing anyone else into the room while you receive them would diminish their impact. This is one of those cases. This is one of these communications. This is one of those divine interruptions that only makes sense to the person for whom it was intended. Words would be heard by everyone else, but you are about to receive confirmation. Have you felt isolated lately? They are physically, emotionally, and spiritually isolated. It's as if you're standing in rooms full of people, but you're completely disconnected from them. It's as if conversations are taking place around you, but nothing is conveyed. It's as if you're physically present, but your spirit is in a completely different place, and you're worried about it. John, you have been thinking about whether you are isolating yourself, engaging in antisocial behavior, or alienating others. However, what if none of the aforementioned are correct, and you choose one? Are you experiencing isolation or insulation? God has enveloped you in a spiritual cocoon. He has been directing you away from distractions, drama, opinions, expectations, and even well-intentioned voices that may disrupt the work He is currently doing within you as you form. You're undergoing a transformation. The process of recalibration is currently underway. You are undergoing a profound enhancement that cannot occur in public. This cannot happen during a conversation. It is impossible for it to happen while you are attempting to express your thoughts to people who will not understand them, regardless of whether you have the necessary vocabulary. Consequently, God eliminated the audience. He cleared the room. He did not silence the voices to punish you with loneliness, but rather to keep you safe during the transition. I'll now explain why this safeguard is necessary. Someone has been testing you, possibly multiple people, in a subtle, strategic manner without being overtly aggressive. They've been expressing things that reopen old wounds, bringing up topics they know will irritate you, asking seemingly innocent questions that are actually quite heavy, and making seemingly innocuous comments that leave you feeling uneasy. The most distressing aspect is that it is difficult to identify because it appears to be insignificant. Nonetheless, your spirit is aware. Your discernment detects what logic fails to confirm, and you have been experiencing feelings of irrationality as a result of your concern about incidents that were technically not assaults, but were nonetheless. Certainly they were. The fact that someone grins while stabbing does not necessarily mean that the knife is not genuine. The use of gentle language does not imply that the intention is not pointed. The fact that someone appears nervous does not mean that they are not conducting an experiment to see if you will respond, defend, explain, or collapse. God also observed it. God felt it. God has declared enough. This is the reason He brought you to this location. This is why He separated you. This is why He advises you to remain silent for a longer period of time. If you respond, defend, or explain at this time, you will grant access to people who no longer have clearance to advance to the next level. It is critical that I reiterate this. Not everyone who had access to your previous season is given access to your next one. Everyone who knew you before is unfamiliar with the new you. Not everyone who accompanied you through the valley has the opportunity to accompany you to the mountain. And this is not heartless. That is not frigid. This is the essence of wisdom. That is the boundary. That is safeguarding. Because the version of you that God is revealing cannot coexist with those who are still attempting to connect with the version that He has previously interred. You've recently observed a situation. Your tolerance for specific situations has completely faded. Conversations that were once enjoyable now appear to be exhausting. Individuals you used to enjoy are now draining. Environments that were previously easy to navigate now seem oppressive. Drama that once captivated you is now immediately repulsive. You've been thinking about whether you're being overly judgmental, too severe, or too sensitive. But what if you aren't? What if your spirit has simply moved to a frequency that is no longer associated with disorder, deception, and dysfunction? What if God changed your spiritual antenna to the point where you can't tolerate what used to feel normal because normal was never meant to be your permanent address? The following is the actual situation. God is teaching you a new language. The language of discernment. The language of silence. The language of boundaries, which lacks explanation. The language of abandonment is devoid of resolution. The language of relying on one's emotions even when one cannot prove their knowledge. Additionally, this language cannot be acquired through noise. It cannot be acquired in large groups. It is impossible to learn this knowledge while defending oneself against those who question one's progress. It must be learned alone, in silence, in separation, in the peaceful space between who you were and who you are becoming. And the location you chose is where you are now. You are in the transition zone, the gap. In addition, the situation is uncomfortable due to a lack of clarity. You are no longer the person you were, and you are not yet fully the person you are becoming. The new skin has not yet fully formed, and you are in the process of shedding your old skin. You are leaving a familiar place, but you have not yet arrived at your new destination. And this area is viewed as vulnerable, exposed, and uncertain. However, it is also held sacred. This is also essential. It is also a place of transformation. The caterpillar does not become a butterfly by remaining at ease. It transforms into a butterfly after undergoing a process that appears to be death, but eventually results in flight. Please allow me to inform you about the enemy's plans. He understands that you are in a state of transition. He is aware that you are relocating. He understands that God is repositioning you for a more profound purpose that will have a greater global impact than your previous season. Furthermore, He is powerless to stop the decree that God has already issued. He cannot reverse the decree that God has already issued. He cannot change the release that God has already made. However, He has the ability to distract, provoke, exhaust, and confuse you. He can also trick you into reacting emotionally rather than strategically, defending yourself rather than relying on God's defense, and attempting to explain your life rather than allowing it to be explained. So he has been sending you test after test, conversation after conversation, situation after situation, all with the intention of forcing you to react and breaking you out of your state of stillness. These are all intended to force you to prove yourself rather than rely on God's approval, and they are all designed to get you talking when God has instructed you to remain silent. And if he can persuade you to break your silence unnecessarily or to deviate from alignment for even a moment, he will postpone the event. He does not cancel it. Instead, he postpones it. Currently, his only weapon is delay. This is why God is so strict with you about remaining silent. This is why he consistently directs you back to silence whenever you attempt to communicate. This is why he is so adamant about preserving your peace, as your current reluctance does not indicate weakness. Your reticence is a form of combat. Every day you don't respond, the enemy's strategy fails. Every conversation in which you refrain from participating is a trap to avoid. Every incomplete explanation saves energy. You are not being passive in your inactivity. Your composure is impressive. Your composure is a form of submission. Furthermore, obedience consistently positions you as a candidate for advancement. I am aware that you have been experiencing remorse, and I would like to address this. You feel remorseful for withdrawing from others. You feel remorse for not being as accessible as you once were. You regret not explaining your recent transformation. When people misinterpret your position, you feel bad about not defending yourself. You feel remorse for conserving your energy, as it means disappointing those who anticipate your availability. And the weight of that remorse rests on your chest. It prompts you to consider whether you are being unkind, distant, selfish, or cold. However, chosen one, please listen to me. Betrayal does not result from boundaries. Rejection does not result from distance. Silence isn't cruel. Punishment is not equivalent to protection. Furthermore, you are not responsible for the feelings of others toward your devotion to God. It is not your responsibility to ensure that others are comfortable with your development. It is not your responsibility to keep a modest size in order to ensure the safety of others. It is not your responsibility to explain spiritual transitions to people who are still physically alive. Your primary obligation is to God. Your obligation relates to your assignment. It is incumbent on you to protect the growth that God is fostering within you, even if it means disappointing those who expected you to remain unchanged. I'd like to inform you about an upcoming event. Mist is expected to dissipate. The confusion will eventually be resolved. The tranquility is about to be disturbed. And when it does, everything that has been hidden will be revealed. God is about to reveal your unidentified motives, intentions, and resistance, jealousy disguised as a smile, soft-spoken manipulation, and ostensibly concerned control. The entire situation is about to be revealed. No, it wasn't because you forced it, confronted it, or defended yourself. It was recognized by God. In addition, God manages it. When that disclosure occurs, you'll understand why he advised you to remain silent. You will understand the reasoning behind his precautionary measures against premature speech. You will realize that if you had defended yourself, explained yourself, or confronted people, you would have given them the opportunity to twist your words, question your motives, and delay your breakthrough. However, God has the right to defend you because you have remained silent, still, and aligned. When God defends you, no one can argue, manipulate, or twist. The truth is undeniable, and it is obvious to everyone. However, it is critical that you understand the following. The intent of this disclosure is not to exact retribution. It is intended to clarify. It is not intended to be harmful to others. It is meant to liberate you. It is not intended to make anyone feel embarrassed. It is intended to set boundaries. Because once the truth, motives, and intentions are revealed, you will be able to determine who is and is not eligible for the upcoming season. You will be aware of which relationships to invest in and which to discontinue. You will be aware of which voices to listen to and which to disregard. That clarity, that discernment, is God's gift to you as a result of this process. Therefore, your current responsibilities are straightforward. Continue to be stationary. Maintain silence. Maintain your alignment. Refrain from defending yourself. Please refrain from giving an explanation. Refrain from responding. Avoid exerting pressure. Avoid haste. Do not hesitate to have faith. Have faith that God sees the same things as you. Believe that God is aware of your knowledge. Have faith that God understands your emotions. Rely on the fact that He is already working in the background in ways you cannot see. Although it may appear to be a slow process, keep faith that His timing is perfect. Rest assured that His silence is not an absence, but rather an indication of preparation. Depend on His active, not passive, protection. Furthermore, while you are waiting, while you remain stationary, please allow me to inform you of new developments. You are being strengthened by God. He is strengthening your foundation so that you can bear the blessing when it comes. He is increasing your ability to get through the door when it opens. He is improving your discernment so that you can recognize the approaching adversary when it makes another attempt. He is strengthening your boundaries so that you can remain firm when others challenge you. He is establishing your identity so that you will not be swayed by criticism. He is ensuring your peace and preventing it from infiltrating you when chaos surrounds you. This period of silence is not without meaning. It is completely filled. It is replete with preparation. It is full of transformation. It is alive with divine activity beneath the surface. It is not yet visible to you. It is happening, even if it is not immediately visible. And one day, very soon, you will enter the fullness of what God has planned for you, reflecting on this peaceful period and expressing gratitude to Him. You'll notice that what appeared to be isolation was really incubation. Development was the cause of the apparent delay. What appeared to be silence was in fact a strategic approach. I must tell you one more thing before I conclude, chosen one. Others, including yourself, will be unable to recognize the version of you that emerges from this season, unlike God, who has always known your true self. You will approach the adversary with an assurance that needs no validation. You will be conversing with someone who has the right to communicate without requiring authorization. You will move with clarity that needs no explanation. You'll fall in love with a security that does not require reciprocation. You will serve with a purpose that does not require recognition. Additionally, individuals will wonder what happened to you. They will inquire as to what happened, and you will be unable to express it because it occurred in the privacy of a secret location, in the silence and solitude of moments with God that no one witnessed. That is the influence of the season. So, that is the purpose of this isolation. This is why God told you to keep this to yourself. The work He is doing in you is too sacred to explain, too personal to share, and too powerful to rush. Therefore, stay here. Continue to be stationary. Maintain acquiescence. And have faith that God will release you when the time is right the preparation is finished, and the formation is complete. And when he does, nothing or no one will be able to stop what he has started. I'd like to talk about the somatic sensations you've been experiencing as your body adjusts to this change. You have been experiencing more fatigue than usual. This fatigue cannot be alleviated by sleep. Rather, it lingers in your bones, causing you to reconsider your plans despite the fact that you are not ill. It is the type of fatigue that causes you to retire earlier and wake up feeling exhausted. You've been wondering if you're sick, if you should see a doctor, or if you're developing a condition, but you've decided there's nothing wrong with your body. Spiritual weight is having an effect on your body. You are carrying an object in the spirit realm that your physical body can detect but cannot fully comprehend. When God reshapes an individual, downloads revelation, or instills new levels of discernment and authority, the physical body feels pressure, heaviness, and fatigue. This is because the spiritual is filtered through the natural. As a result, now is the time to prioritize relaxation. This is why you are unable to persevere in this season as you have in previous endeavors. Your body requires rest because your spirit is working at a rapid pace. Your spirit is in the process of recalibration, which requires that your body remain at rest. Your body requires tranquility as a result of your spiritual evolution. Furthermore, it isn't just physical fatigue. Have you also been experiencing emotional swings? One moment you are unconcerned, and the next you are overcome with emotion. You can be inexplicably sad one moment and then peaceful the next. You can go from being optimistic to doubting everything in an instant. Furthermore, these emotional fluctuations are not related to any specific event. They were not triggered by any event. Nobody made any statements that would have triggered them. They appear and disappear in a manner similar to waves. And you've been fighting them in order to gain control, comprehend, and make sense of them. However, what if they do not need to be understandable? What if your current emotional experience is the death of the old version of yourself and the birth of the new version of yourself? Death and birth are both messy processes. Both are excruciating. Both people are experiencing discomfort. Both are indispensable. It is impossible to remain a caterpillar while transitioning into a butterfly. It is impossible to maintain your previous identity while transitioning to a new assignment. One entity must perish before another can thrive. Furthermore, the emotional response you are feeling is one of mortality. You are lamenting past versions of yourself that are no longer useful. You are releasing attachments that are no longer suitable for you. You are giving up expectations that were never yours to bear. And the procedure is painful. However, it does not cause you to collapse. It is conceiving you. Let me recount the visions. I am aware that you have been having unusual visions of late. Dreams that are more tangible than reality. Dreams in which you are unsuccessfully pursuing an object. Dreams in which you try to communicate but are unable to express your thoughts. Dreams in which you are in familiar places, but the surroundings are unfamiliar. Dreams in which people you know act out of character. Dreams that cause you to wake up at unusual times with a racing heart and a perplexed mind. Furthermore, you've dismissed them as stress dreams, random cerebral activity, and meaningless sleep disturbances. However, they are not insignificant. Those visions are the subconscious processing of information that your conscious mind has yet to fully comprehend. They are your spirit's attempt to communicate the events that are occurring in dimensions beyond your perception. The seek represents your soul's pursuit of the next level. God temporarily silences you, as evidenced by your inability to speak. Your perception is shifting as a result of familiar surroundings feeling different. Individuals who behave as strangers represent the progression of relationships as you grow. Your aspirations are not arbitrary. They are predicting. They demonstrate the spiritual events that are taking place, even if you are unable to express them naturally. Furthermore, you have an additional experience that you have not shared with anyone. You've noticed signs, numbers that repeat, times on the clock that pique your interest, songs that play just when you needed to hear them, conversations that speak directly to your situation, scriptures that jump off the page when you read them, and sermons that feel like they were preached just for you. You've also been wondering if you're overanalyzing events, have superstitious tendencies, or see patterns that don't exist. But you are not. Those indications are genuine. These confirmations are deliberate. God is communicating with you in the language your spirit understands. When the path ahead appears uncertain, He leaves clues for you to follow. He is sending you signals to let you know that you are not forgotten, that you are not alone, and that you are not off track. Each repeated number is a heavenly sign. Every precisely timed song conveys a message from your Father. Every synchronicity serves as proof that the events in your life are not coincidental. Orchestration has been implemented. The minor things that surround you serve to confirm God's larger actions. I will now inform you of the events that will take place following the conclusion of this season of silence, which will eventually end. This isn't a permanent solution. This will not continue indefinitely. This is a season, one that is predetermined, appointed, and purposeful. God will send you a signal when the preparation, transformation, and completion of the task are complete. Before you see it in your circumstances, you will feel it in your spirit. You will be aware even before you comprehend. Shifts will be perceived before they manifest. And when that moment arrives, everything changes dramatically. Doors that you've stopped knocking on will suddenly open. Opportunities you previously passed up will unexpectedly come back to haunt you. Individuals with whom you have ceased communication will unexpectedly contact you. Suddenly, resources you had stopped requesting will appear. The clarity for which you had stopped searching will suddenly be downloaded. A sudden realization will occur about the direction you abandoned your pursuit. Furthermore, it will not be an outcome that you forced. It won't be because of your manipulation. It will not be because you can network your way into it. The reason will be that your obedience and God's timing coincided. When these two elements, there is a reason why you were told to view this alone, chosen one. Stop all your activities, chosen one. Please do not browse, multitask, or divide your attention between this and other activities at this time. This is not appropriate for people who are in close proximity. Remove any external noise. Disregard your thoughts that are preoccupied with planning the next course of action. Because God has just interrupted your entire day to convey a message that can only be understood in its entirety. This message was not intended to be used as background noise. This was meant to be absorbed in solitude, in silence, with no distractions. Additionally, if you are unable to do so at this time, please save this page and return to it later. Because the content about to be spoken requires your full attention, not just fragmented attention. Take a deep, genuine breath. Observe how your thorax feels more constricted than it should be. Note the increased volume of your thoughts. Observe how your spirit has become overcrowded despite your physical isolation. This is not a mere coincidence. That is not a concern. That's a spiritual endeavor. And God drew you here, away from everything familiar and everyone, to tell you the truth and explain why you must remain silent for another period of time. I will begin with this. God instructed us to observe this alone because the information he is about to reveal cannot be filtered by the opinions, questions, or energy of others. Certain truths are so personal, precisely scheduled, and uniquely assigned to you that allowing anyone else into the room while you receive them would diminish their impact. This is one of those cases. This is one of these communications. This is one of those divine interruptions that only makes sense to the person for whom it was intended. Words would be heard by everyone else, but you are about to receive confirmation. Have you felt isolated lately? They are physically, emotionally, and spiritually isolated. It's as if you're standing in rooms full of people, but you're completely disconnected from them. It's as if conversations are taking place around you, but nothing is conveyed. It's as if you're physically present, but your spirit is in a completely different place, and you're worried about it. John, you have been thinking about whether you are isolating yourself, engaging in antisocial behavior, or alienating others. However, what if none of the aforementioned are correct, and you choose one? Are you experiencing isolation or insulation? God has enveloped you in a spiritual cocoon. He has been directing you away from distractions, drama, opinions, expectations, and even well-intentioned voices that may disrupt the work he is currently doing within you as you form. You're undergoing a transformation. The process of recalibration is currently underway. You are undergoing a profound enhancement that cannot occur in public. This cannot happen during a conversation. It is impossible for it to happen while you are attempting to express your thoughts to people who will not understand them, regardless of whether you have the necessary vocabulary. Consequently, God eliminated the audience. He cleared the room. He did not silence the voices to punish you with loneliness, but rather to keep you safe during the transition. I'll now explain why this safeguard is necessary. Someone has been testing you, possibly multiple people, in a subtle, strategic manner without being overtly aggressive. They've been expressing things that reopen old wounds, bringing up topics they know will irritate you, asking seemingly innocent questions that are actually quite heavy, and making seemingly innocuous comments that leave you feeling uneasy. The most distressing aspect is that it is difficult to identify because it appears to be insignificant. Nonetheless, your spirit is aware. Your discernment detects what logic fails to confirm, and you have been experiencing feelings of irrationality as a result of your concern about incidents that were technically not assaults, but were nonetheless. Certainly they were. The fact that someone grins while stabbing does not necessarily mean that the knife is not genuine. The use of gentle language does not imply that the intention is not pointed. The fact that someone appears nervous does not mean that they are not conducting an experiment to see if you will respond, defend, explain, or collapse. God also observed it. God felt it. God has declared enough. This is the reason he brought you to this location. This is why he separated you. This is why he advises you to remain silent for a longer period of time. If you respond, defend, or explain at this time, you will grant access to people who no longer have clearance to advance to the next level. It is critical that I reiterate this. Not everyone who had access to your previous season is given access to your next one. Everyone who knew you before is unfamiliar with the new you. Not everyone who accompanied you through the valley has the opportunity to accompany you to the mountain. And this is not heartless. That is not frigid. This is the essence of wisdom. That is the boundary. That is safeguarding. Because the version of you that God is revealing cannot coexist with those who are still attempting to connect with the version that he has previously interred. You've recently observed a situation. Your tolerance for specific situations has completely faded. Conversations that were once enjoyable now appear to be exhausting. Individuals you used to enjoy are now draining. Environments that were previously easy to navigate now seem oppressive. Drama that once captivated you is now immediately repulsive. You've been thinking about whether you're being overly judgmental, too severe, or too sensitive. But what if you aren't? What if your spirit has simply moved to a frequency that is no longer associated with disorder, deception, and dysfunction? What if God changed your spiritual antenna to the point where you can't tolerate what used to feel normal because normal was never meant to be your permanent address? The following is the actual situation. God is teaching you a new language. The language of discernment. The language of silence. The language of boundaries, which lacks explanation. The language of abandonment is devoid of resolution. The language of relying on one's emotions even when one cannot prove their knowledge. Additionally, this language cannot be acquired through noise. It cannot be acquired in large groups. It is impossible to learn this knowledge while defending oneself against those who question one's progress. It must be learned alone, in silence, in separation, in the peaceful space between who you were and who you are becoming. And the location you chose is where you are now. You are in the transition zone, the gap. In addition, the situation is uncomfortable due to a lack of clarity. You are no longer the person you were, and you are not yet fully the person you are becoming. The new skin has not yet fully formed, and you are in the process of shedding your old skin. You are leaving a familiar place, but you have not yet arrived at your new destination. And this area is viewed as vulnerable, exposed, and uncertain. However, it is also held sacred. This is also essential. It is also a place of transformation. Esteemed chosen one, the light has led you to this location for a very special reason. Stopping at this location was not an accident. The stirring in your spirit is not an emotional coincidence. God purposefully led you to this location because of an urgent matter that has touched his heart. The information you are hearing now is a matter of responsibility. It fulfills a purpose. Furthermore, it has consequences. God has called you to help a woman whose life is inextricably linked to your own. Not at any later time. Not when it appears logical. Not when all of the details are readily apparent. Not until you've fully considered all possible outcomes. There are sacred moments when obedience acts as a bridge for the protection, breakthrough, or survival of another person. This is one of those cases. You may not yet understand her identity or the reason for your emotional distress. But heaven does. God never makes connections at random. When he connects two lives, it is because the item you possess satisfies a need she has. Furthermore, the item she carries has the potential to unlock something beyond your reach. This is not an issue of sympathy. The subject is purpose. She is not a disruptor. She is an intersection that God has arranged. What you do next is more important than you might think. Compassion manifests itself in ways that prayer cannot. Scripture instructs us to bear each other's burdens. In this manner, you will fulfill Christ's law. God is watching your actions as he speaks quietly but urgently in Galatians chapter 6, verse 2. If this resonates with you at the moment, please let me know if you are experiencing a spiritual awakening. Kindly leave a comment. Even a simple Amen makes me aware that you are with me on this journey. Your presence is significant. Keep an open mind. There is additional information being revealed. This is one of those crossroads moments when heaven gently leans in. Observing your subsequent actions. The reason your heart is fluttering is simple. This encounter is not the result of chance. God does not determine our destiny alone. He determines our timing. He urgently brings someone to your attention. It is rarely informal. Panic does not indicate a sense of spiritual urgency. And it's not a form of pressure. Alignment is the term. It is God who emphasizes the importance of the issue. The moment is now, not later. Given the significance of the moment, it is critical that you understand the following. God has the ability to handle all situations on his own. Again and again, a single word from him could change the entire situation. He chooses an alternative approach. He is not lacking in power, rather he is enthusiastic about partnership. He intertwined his responses with human obedience. He finds solace in the sound of someone else's voice. Someone else has control over his provision. He was rescued as a result of someone's decision to appear. This is how he frequently relocates. Not only from heaven to earth, but from one person to another. And in his infinite wisdom, he chose you. It's not because you're flawless. Not because you believe you are prepared. Nonetheless, you are available and well-positioned. God calls the willing first, followed by the qualified. He doesn't need you to be impressive. He requests that you obey. Miracles can enter through obedience. Consider the situation for a moment. What is the number of times in the Bible where God used ordinary people in extraordinary ways? How many times did he incorporate an individual who felt insufficient into the core of his strategy? Moses didn't see himself as a leader. He had a debate with God. He said, "I am not eloquent. I am unable to express myself effectively." However, God did not require his oratory skills. He required his willingness. Gideon, who was nervous and uncertain, was hidden in a wine press. Gideon recognized his vulnerability when God described him as a powerful warrior. God observed his assignment. Esther was a young woman living in a foreign palace. However, she was ready for this moment. At the time, she did not consider herself qualified. However, her obedience was critical to the survival of an entire nation. Throughout the Bible, God's help appears frequently in the form of human skin. An appearance that is timely. Indeed, a courageous person. A person who does not appear to be a miracle, but eventually becomes one. This is what makes this woman significant. She is not a disruptor. She is part of your assignment. There is an item you own that she requires, as well as an item associated with her that will have an impact on your future. Destiny is not always revealed through significant dramatic events. Sometimes compassion reveals the truth, albeit at a cost. Through acts of kindness that are considered inconvenient. You cannot explain the nudge, but you are unable to shake it. If you're still with me. If you believe this word speaks to you, please take a moment to click the like button. This message assists in reaching others who require it as well. It also lets me know that the information I'm conveying is reaching your spirit. This is the substance that will be released once you comply with the movement. Not just for her, but also for yourself. Obedience functions as a bridge. It connects God's power with a human necessity. It turns prayer into provision. It turns the process of waiting into a breakthrough. Occasionally, you unintentionally become the answer to a prayer you never heard. Somewhere, someone has sought God's assistance. Additionally, God has been cultivating a willing heart in the area. That is how heaven reacts. It is sometimes associated with an assignment rather than thunder. According to the Bible, we are God's co-workers. 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 9. That's not poetic language. It's a calling. It implies that God invites you to participate in His ongoing activities and grants you the opportunity to participate. Furthermore, it implies that your response will be deemed significant, not to embarrass you, but to reawaken you. Instead of just observing a moment, you become immersed in it. As a result, do not dismiss the gentle insistence that you feel in your spirit. Avoid rationalizing your decision. Do not underestimate these humble beginnings. Zechariah chapter 4, verse 10. Because what appears small in your hands can become substantial in God's plan. This is a divine intersection. Furthermore, the next steps you take are more important than you may realize. Many people fail to recognize their destiny because they believe that their purpose will be announced with great force. They are waiting for recognition, applause, or a moment that convinces them of its significance. However, it is uncommon for God to act in this way. Scripture reveals a more subdued reality. Destiny frequently takes the form of an ordinary, inconvenient, or easily overlooked event. The weight of eternity can be carried by something seemingly insignificant. God examines obedience before granting influence. Private decisions come before platforms. Unseen faithfulness precedes visible impact. Before expanding the assignment, God conducts a thorough examination of the heart. You may be unaware that what appears insignificant has a far-reaching impact on something much larger than yourself. Assuming one is capable of trusting a small amount, they can be trusted with a large sum. Luke chapter 16, verse 10. This is not a form of encouragement. It's a spiritual principle. This is the law of the kingdom. Kindly consider Ruth. She did not intend to change history or secure a future. During a difficult period, she chose loyalty. She unknowingly left a legacy that would influence future generations by remaining loyal to Naomi. Her destiny was revealed not through ambition, but through quiet dedication. She had no idea that her simple acts of kindness were establishing a lineage that would eventually lead to King David and Jesus. No, David did not come to the battlefield in search of greatness. He was simply carrying out his father's instructions, delivering food and preparing to return home. He was exactly where God wanted him to be as a result of that simple action. His service unintentionally guided him into his destiny. He went on to retrieve bread. He eventually encountered a giant, and that moment sparked a complete transformation. When Jesus talked about the Good Samaritan, he didn't emphasize status or position. Through compassion, he revealed the essence of God. The lesson was about mercy rather than magnitude. Occasionally, the most profound revelation of God is conveyed through simple kindness rather than in public. The priest passed by. The Levite passed by. Both were religious. Both were positioned. Both were preoccupied with significant issues. However, the Samaritan stopped. He witnessed. He acted. He became the personification of what love appears to be when it refuses to leave. This is a common situation in heaven. God's actions on your behalf are beyond your control when you help the right person at the right time. Favor responds to alignment rather than ambition. Doors that are inaccessible by effort alone are opened. It's possible that what appears to be an interruption is really an invitation. In the spirit, what appears to be insignificant can be substantial. Do not dismiss the possibility of assisting her because it appears inconvenient, quiet, or unseen. Not every purpose is immediately apparent. It occasionally makes a low noise. When you respond, you may discover that obedience did not divert you from your destiny at all. However, before you go into your next season, please take a moment to share this video with a friend. Intentionally, not at random. While you were listening, you thought of someone's name, someone whose heart requires this message. The prompting should not be ignored. That is the Holy Spirit already working through you. Because timing is so important, the Spirit comes to us at specific times. Not all events in the kingdom occur in a gradual manner. Heaven functions with deliberateness and precision. Furthermore, when there is an urgent situation, the intention is not to instill fear. It is meant to create harmony. This window is currently open for a reason, and God has drawn your attention to it. Not indefinitely. Not at any later time. Currently, God is not enraged by delayed obedience. However, it may lead to delays in task completion. This does not constitute a penalty. This is a fundamental principle. Spiritual momentum is maintained through obedience. When we hesitate, the flow slows down. Not because God has withdrawn, but because of the importance of sequence. You are not being rushed by God. He is maintaining the order of the structure He is building. Obedience is distinguished by rhythm. And when we align with it, events unfold gracefully. Resistance causes unnecessary friction. Mercy frequently replaces what appears to be an urgent situation, preventing you from overlooking current opportunities. In some seasons, God speaks softly, while in others, He speaks clearly and without reservation. Certain instructions include a designated space for reflection. Others are accompanied by clarity because of their serious implications. Scripture reminds us that there is a season and time for everything under heaven. Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verse 1 emphasizes that pressure is not the determining factor in timing. It is the embodiment of wisdom. The current situation is time-sensitive. Neglected needs accumulate weight. Disregarded moments do not always indicate the end of their story. Regardless, God is steadfast. However, He invites you to respond while the door remains open. Your response is now more significant than you realize. Consider instances in your life where someone arrived at the right time. It's possible that you were having difficulties and chose not to tell anyone. It's possible you felt isolated and wondered if anyone was concerned. An individual arrived, texted, and called. So, you knew right away that it was no coincidence. That was one way in which God communicated with you through another person. He is now requesting that you act as that individual for another. Your obedience today could pave the way for someone's breakthrough tomorrow. Your affirmation right now has the potential to transform a spiritual situation that has been stagnant for months, if not years. You cannot see the entire picture. However, God does. He also asks that you trust Him for what you cannot see. This is more than just assisting another person. It is also about who you are becoming during the process. Each assignment has a dual purpose. There is an external impact and an internal formation. God isn't just addressing the situation right in front of you. He is shaping your heart through it. He is deeply concerned about the state of your inner life because character is the foundation of destiny. Platforms may be elevated as responsibilities grow. However, only characters can retain their significance over time. Furthermore, unseen acts of obedience are frequently used to shape character. This is how compassion is refined. Compassion is not inherent. It is cultivated. God expands your capacity to care beyond self-protection and convenience with each invitation to address the needs of another person. A prepared heart is one that has been softened. Furthermore, these instances improve discernment. Not every interruption is arbitrary. It is not the case that all needs are noisy. Learning to recognize divine appointments allows you to distinguish between distraction and assignment. Discernment is gained through obedience, not comfort. Additionally, faith is strengthened in this location. Faith is strengthened when action necessitates trust over certainty. When obedience is quiet, costly, and unnoticed, God frequently assesses our responses before entrusting greater power. Prior to visibility, private decisions are made. There are intervals before affirmation when no one applauds. According to James, chapter 1, verse 22, do not be deceived by merely listening to the word. Please follow the instructions. Movement culminates in faith. It is not charitable to help her. Alignment is the term. It is a type of collaboration with God's process and participation in His ongoing activities that may not be obvious to you. This act prepares you for upcoming events. God does not squander obedience. The steps you take in secret to demonstrate faithfulness lay the groundwork for future responsibilities. And this is the hope you must maintain. God has already prepared you for the task before you. You are not deficient. You're not lagging. You are not unqualified. God does not summon people because they are already prepared. He prepares them because they are willing. He is currently getting you ready for the next chapter of your life. What you give up in obedience is repaid through development. What you sow in love multiplies in ways that you cannot control. I, the Lord, will execute it at the appropriate time. Isaiah chapter 60, verse 22. Before proceeding, I would appreciate your feedback. Please leave a comment below and share your thoughts. Can you remember a time when you were hesitant to help someone despite feeling a call from God? Alternatively, you could have complied and witnessed an extraordinary event. Please share your story. Your testimony may provide the confirmation that another individual requires at this time. I'd like to disclose a little-known fact. Obedience isn't just a response. Saying yes to God's assignment represents a position. You put yourself in the path of His favor. You are consistent with His current actions. Furthermore, agreement eliminates the need for breakthroughs. It is fluid. Consider the river. Water does not struggle to move downstream. It keeps to the path. It subsequently gains strength. Turbulence is caused by resistance. Momentum is created through alignment. The same is true in the spiritual realm. Stepping into an already flowing current aligns you with God's assignment. You are not the one who generates the flow. You're becoming a member. This is why obedience is more enjoyable than disobedience, even if it carries a financial penalty. Because when you move in accordance with God's will, you are using His strength rather than yours. His burden is light. His burden is effortless. He bears the burden, not because the task is small. However, when you resist, even the smallest objects become burdensome because you are now carrying what you were supposed to release and opposing the current that was meant to propel you forward. You're being summoned to help this woman. She is not just an individual in need. She is part of a divine arrangement. The divine orchestrated this intersection. The subsequent events are determined by your obedience rather than her circumstances. God has already positioned the resources. He has already prepared the provision. He's already opened the door. However, He is waiting for someone to cross it. He is expecting your arrival. I have seen this happen several times. An individual feels a tug in their spirit. They hesitate. They spend too much time thinking about the situation. They are awaiting additional clarification. Then the moment passes. The window is shut. God did not stop moving. Rather, the opportunity had a time limit, and the enemy understands that he can disrupt the timing by delaying your obedience for an extended period of time. However, the following is what you should be aware of. This is not a condemnation, regardless of previous hesitations or missed opportunities. This relates to awakening. God is giving you an additional opportunity. He has once more captured your attention. Furthermore, you have the opportunity to respond in a unique way this time. You have the opportunity to respond affirmatively prior to your readiness. To proceed without having a thorough understanding of the situation. To have faith in the outcome before it occurs. Faith is exactly that. Faith isn't a guarantee. Faith is the assurance that we have in the presence of something that we cannot see. It confirms our aspirations. Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1. If you are currently feeling that pull or receiving a message from your spirit, pay attention. This is significant. I'd like you to take action. I'd appreciate it if you could temporarily pause this video. Close your eyes. Ask God, is this for me? Then listen. Unsuitable for audible voices. I am not requesting a dramatic sign. Simply pay attention to the subtle intuition that flows through your being. If the response is affirmative, there is no need to wait. Avoid rationalizing your decision. Ensure that God's words are not overshadowed by fear, doubt, or logic. Relocate. Kindly respond. Kindly contact me. Someone else is counting on your obedience right now. It may also serve as the key to unlock the next stage of your life. Nothing is wasted by God. Every act of obedience, every moment of surrender, every time you choose His way over your own, all contribute to something greater. It may not be obvious to you at the time, but you will one day reflect on this moment and realize that it was pivotal. Not just for her, but also for yourself. Do not ignore the emotional stirrings that are occurring within you. Avoid underestimating it. Do not reason your way out of obedience. Do not underestimate these humble beginnings. Zechariah chapter 4, verse 10. Because what appears insignificant in your hands can become massive in God's plan. This is a divine intersection. Furthermore, the next steps you take are more important than you may realize. Let me tell you about a woman in Scripture whom many people overlook. Her name was Tabitha, also known as Dorcas. She wasn't famous. She was neither a prophet nor a leader, but she was known for one thing. She was constantly doing good and helping the poor. Acts chapter 9, verse 36 was her assignment. Simple, unappealing, and unnoticed by most. However, when she died, something remarkable occurred. The whole community was devastated. They sent for Peter. When he arrived, widows gathered around him, crying and showing him the robes and clothing Tabitha had made. Her acts of service had touched so many lives that her absence left a void, so God raised her from the dead. Not because she was famous, but because her faithfulness was important. Your obedience may appear insignificant, but it has far-reaching consequences. They have an impact on people's lives that you may not be aware of. And heaven is keeping track of every time you chose love over convenience. Consider the widow of Zarephath. She had nothing but one last meal for herself and her son, and they expected to die. But when Elijah arrived and asked for bread, she had a choice. Keep what little she has for herself or give it away in obedience. Hold on, logic advised. Faith said, let go. She chose obedience over self-preservation. What happened next defies natural explanation. The flour had not run out. The oil did not dry out. Every day, week after week, there was enough. Not because she had an abundance to begin with, but because she gave from a lack, and God multiplied what she gave. This is the principle you must understand. God does not expect you to give from your surplus. He asks that you give from your supply. Because when you release what you have, even if it feels insufficient, He makes it more than enough. Not only for the person you're helping, but also for yourself. And here's something most people overlook. That widow did not simply receive provision. She got a front row seat to the miraculous. Her son died later in the story, but Elijah raised him from the dead. She did more than survive as a result of her obedience. She witnessed God's power in ways that most people never see. The same holds true for you. When you obey God and help this woman, you are not simply meeting a need. You are preparing yourself to witness God move in ways you have never seen before. You are entering a dimension of faith that is only activated through obedience. Allow me to tell you something else. Most people don't recognize the spiritual principle at work here. When God asks you to help someone, He is not simply thinking of them. He is thinking of you. He is thinking about what you should learn and experience. What needs to change within your heart? Every assignment serves a dual purpose. Yes, it blesses the other person, but it also changes you. It expands your capacity. It strengthens your trust. It reveals areas where you are still holding on too tightly, as well as what you are truly capable of. Peter didn't know. He could walk on water until Jesus summoned him out of the boat. The moment of discovery came as a result of obedience. The revelation came from taking a risk. If he had stayed on the boat, he would have been safe. But he would have remained the same. God is calling you out of the boat right now. Not to see you fail, but to demonstrate what is possible when you trust Him more than your circumstances. This woman is not part of the assignment. She is the invitation. The assignment is to become the person God created you to be. And this only occurs when you go beyond what feels safe. I understand there is resistance in your heart right now. I understand there are questions. What if I don't have enough? What happens if I give and it does not work out? What if this isn't actually God? Allow me to address those concerns directly. First, you will never have enough if you wait until you believe you have enough. Abundance isn't a feeling. It's a decision. It is choosing to view what you have as more than sufficient because God is your source, not your bank account. Second, obedience is not measured by observable outcomes. It is determined by faithfulness to what God has asked. You are not responsible for the outcome. You are responsible for the response. God handles everything else. Third, if you're wondering whether this is truly God, let me ask you this. Why else are you still here? Why else is your heart pounding? Why else would tears be forming in your eyes? The Holy Spirit does not waste His time on those who are not supposed to hear. If this message found you, it is because you are part of the answer. And here is what I have learned after years of walking with God. When he asks you to do something scary, it usually means he is about to do something amazing for you. The size of your fear often matches the size of the breakthrough on the other side. So if you are feeling afraid right now, good. That means you are on the edge of something significant. That means you are about to step into a moment that will redefine how you see God, yourself, and what is possible. If you have made it this far in this message, I want you to do something for me. I want you to comment below and tell me one word that describes how you are feeling right now. A single word. It could be nervous, excited, ready, unsure, whatever it is, just type it out. Because when you acknowledge what you are feeling, you take away its power to paralyze you. And then I want you to make a decision. Not tomorrow, not next week, right now. Decide that you are going to obey. Decide that you are going to help her. Decide that you are going to trust God even when it does not make sense. Because that decision, that moment of surrender, is what shifts everything. You see, God is not looking for perfect people. He is looking for willing people. He is not searching for those who have it all figured out. He is searching for those who will say yes, even when they are terrified, even when they do not understand, even when it costs them something. And when he finds someone like that, when he finds a heart that is willing to move in obedience, he moves heaven and earth to back them up. He opens doors that were locked. He provides resources that were not there before. He makes a way where there was no way. This is your opportunity. This is your door. This is your opportunity to step into everything God has been preparing you for. Do not let it pass by. Do not let fear talk you out of your destiny. Do not let doubt steal what God is trying to give you. I want to remind you of something powerful. You are not reading this by accident. You did not stumble upon this message randomly. God orchestrated this moment. He knew you needed to hear this. He knew your heart was ready. And he is asking you now, will you trust me? Will you move when I say move? Will you help when I say help? Before we go any further, I need to ask you something. If this message is speaking to you, if you know in your spirit that this is for you, subscribe to this channel. Not for me, but for you. Because if God led you here for this word, he will lead you back for the next one. And you do not want to miss what is coming. Your subscription is also a declaration. It is you saying, yes, God, I am listening. I am paying attention. I am willing to be used. And that posture of willingness is what heaven responds to. So hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications. And let's continue walking this path together. Now here is what I need you to understand about this moment. When God highlights a need, he is not doing it to burden you. He is doing it to position you. He is showing you where the next door is. He is revealing where your next breakthrough is hidden. Because breakthroughs often come disguised as someone else's need. You think you are helping her. But in reality, God is using her to help you. He is using this assignment to move you into position for what is next. He is using this obedience to unlock something in you that prayer alone could not reach. This is the mystery of the kingdom. When you give, you receive. When you serve, you are elevated. When you pour out, you are filled. Jesus said it himself. Give, and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together and running over, will be poured into your lap. For with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. Luke 6:38. this is not just about money. This is about every act of obedience. Every time you say yes to God, you are setting something in motion. And what comes back to you is always greater than what you gave. Not because you earned it, but because that is how God's economy works. It defies logic. It transcends natural law. It operates on a completely different system. In the kingdom, the way up is down. The way to receive is to give. The way to find your life is to lose it. This is what Jesus modeled for us. He had all power, all authority, all resources. Yet he chose to serve. He washed feet. He touched lepers. He spent time with outcasts. And through that humility, through that service, he changed the world. He did not wait for a platform. He created impact through presence. You do not need a big platform to make a big difference. You do not need thousands of followers to change a life. You just need to be obedient to what God is asking you to do right now at this moment. With this person, through this act of love, one last thing before you go. I want you to know that I am praying for you. I am praying that God gives you the courage to move, the faith to trust, the strength to obey, and the wisdom to recognize His voice above all the noise. You are not alone in this. Heaven is backing you. And when you step out in faith, you will find that God was already there, waiting together. We ascend in the direction of the sun.